End of an era today, Jack, for John Menard and the Menard Racing Team. For a decade now, they've worked what initially was a stock block Buick power plant into their own mark, the Menard engine. But of course, the rules change after this race. It'll no longer be part of the racing scene in the Indy Racing League. John Menard has never experienced victory with this new setup, with this engine. Today, with Mark Dismore and Tony Stewart, they know they've been competitive in every event. They want so much to end this era with a triumph. Paul?
Well, when you spend that much time and money and dedication, that would be a wonderful victory for them here today. We'll keep an eye on both of those cars. There's your front row. Arie Luyendyk on the pole. And, of course, Tony Stewart outside the front row. Rest of the field coming through. Our attention's being diverted a little. The first turn, the winds have picked up here, and there's a lot of dust beginning to blow across the corner. So don't take that wrong, because it's on the outside of the corner. Now the green flag goes, and here we are as Arie Luyendyk jumps into the lead. Robbie Gordon drops into third place. There's Buddy Lazier.
Now there was something that really surprised me. Tony Stewart, who starts so many dirt tracks, sprint car midget races, got beat to the starting line by Arie Luyendyk.
And now Robbie Gordon makes a move on Tony Stewart, and Gordon coming down low gets into second place.
Stewart's obviously got his power turned back too far. He's not up to full power yet, because remember that Menard mark probably make at least 100 more horsepower than the other one.
That's Buddy Lazier beginning to close now on Tony Stewart.
Remember, that's the two guys that had the confrontation up in New Hampshire when we had the IRL race up there, Paul.
Luyendyk, Gordon, Stewart, Buddy Lazier, Mike Croft, John Paul Jr., then Richie Hearn and Scott Sharp. That's the order.
Looks like to me Robbie Gordon wants to get up to the front as fast as he possibly can.
Well, you know, Danny, Robbie Gordon comes from kart, and he's over here running IRL. Of course, something that we were kind of surprised to see, although we're happy to see. He's going to be trying to prove a point today, I think.
Well, I think he might be trying to prove a point, but I talked to Derek Walker, and I know they want to come away with some points from here so that they qualify for the Indianapolis 500.
Second place, Robbie Gordon, closing on the leader, Jackaroo.
Well, Robbie Gordon is one of those drivers that's going to attempt to go and make this race in only 3 stops. That means that he's going to have to use a little bit of fuel conservation. I talked to Derek Walker. He said, we need some full course yellows, not all at once, but within each segment. Remember, you've got to go at least 50 laps before you take on fuel if you hope to make it to 3.
Top of the screen, you can see 4 laps of the 200 complete and the interval back from the leaders. 0.3 of a second for Robbie Gordon in his closure on Arie Luyendyk.
You can obviously see right there that Robbie Gordon is getting a little bit of a draft. Right on Luyendyk, who's leading. The car on the red and white one is Luyendyk. The blue and white one, of course, Robbie Gordon.
Looks like right there he's going to make the move. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I guess I was a little bit wrong on that, Danny.
Robbie Gordon closes in, looks for a high lane. Notice this track is so wide, and with the banking, there are several grooves. Robbie pulled up, made a try. Didn't work for him. By the way, Davey Hamilton started 5th. He's dropped back through the field to 21st.
Yeah, it also could be what Robbie was doing is he didn't feel maybe that Arie was running quite as fast as he thought he should be running. That could have just been a wake-up call.
Well, if it did, Arie looks like he woke up, but I think he might have lost a little bit of air there, too, when he tried to go through Bobby, and he probably disturbed the front end of the car a little bit. Wants to be a little cautious. This is early on in a 200-lap race.
Awfully early to be pushing too hard.
We're going to open up Robbie Gordon's radio, and we'll just continue to listen to it today. And look at the leaders already catching the back of the field. That's Brad Murphy, the purple car up high. Look at Robbie. Gets way up into the dust.
Now that's that dirt that I was talking about in the opening. It's up there. Now, as the race goes on, and more cars run up there, they'll clean that off a little bit. But it's because there's so much dirt and mud embedded into the pavement because the track is good.
Did you hear Derek Walker right there very faintly in the back? He said, be patient. Look at Robbie. He's having trouble in the traffic. Tony Stewart here is taking a look around the outside.
Well, Stewart's been running the banks a lot of times. He's used to running up high. It wouldn't be anything new for him.
No, but I think Robbie got snookered there a little bit in the traffic. And once you lift off, we got a yellow.
Yellow comes out as Stewart was able to move around Gordon and pick up the lead of the race. So Luyendyk, the rest of the field will slow. Quick little bounce off of the wall. and that Johnny Parsons Jr. looks like. So we have our first yellow here, and Lyondike slows the field as Gordon had to give up second place to Tony Stewart, who picked the momentum up. So they will bunch up once again, and indication from observers on the course is that he may have blown the engine before. Yeah, look at that. He's saying the engine went just before the spin. Johnny Parsons wanted to make sure we all knew exactly what was going on. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Indy Racing League at Las Vegas. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Pennzoil Motor Oil. First to fully achieve the tougher 1997 GF2 performance standard. True Value, official hardware store of IRL and garages everywhere. Goodyear, #1 in tires. And Regal by Buick, the fine line between sport and sedan.
We're still under yellow because of Johnny Parsons Jr. brush with the wall. Tonight on ABC starts with an hour of America's Funniest Home Videos, and then Sandra Bullock, Demi Moore, and Courtney Love guest on the Barbara Walters special, and Denzel Washington and Emmy winner John Lithgow star in the Sunday night movie Ricochet. That's all tonight here on ABC. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Davey Hamilton and A.J. Foyt's car is a little bit disappointed at this time. Best starting spot, 5th position today, but the engine would not make any revs right from the drop of the green flag. They've lifted the rear cowling and the side cowling. What they're going to do, guys, is they're going to troubleshoot now through the electrical. Here's the other problem that Davey Hamilton has. They're sure that's an electrical problem because his dashboard is dead as well. So let's go back to Paul.
So there's Davey Hamilton's car, and keeping track of some other people in the field. John Paul Jr. started in 12th and now runs in 5th position. Well, now there was keep track there of Buddy Lazier and Johnny Unser as they follow the pace car under the yellow. And there's John Paul back there. It's John Paul Jr. with the flags on the front of the car. So it's Lyondike, Stewart, who got around Gordon for second place. Gordon in 3rd. Buddy Lazier is in 4th. We'll be right back. We're back in Las Vegas under a caution. That's for Johnny Parsons Jr. while they clean up the course. Notice in 5th place there is John Paul Jr. Started 12th, now 5th. Let's go down pit road. Gary Gerald.
Paul, we're watching Tony Stewart. We're down here in the Menard camp. He has radioed to Larry Curry that he likes the balance of the race car. That is so good for Tony Stewart because remember what he did in the last IRL event at Loudon, New Hampshire when he just ran away from the field. He had amazing speed in the corner because the car was balanced so good. He's that happy early. Also, this yellow is helping them conserve fuel. But unlike the other teams who are getting good fuel mileage, the Menard is notoriously bad. Larry Curry said, we're planning a 4-stop race. Other teams are hoping to do it in 3. Menard knows they have to do it in 4. This yellow helps them, but they still need 8 laps of yellow to be able to do a 4-stop race. That's how concerned they are about fuel. Jack?
Gary, down here in the leader's pit, Ari Lyondike says his car is pushing just a little bit, so he's not happy with the initial balance on the car. They will wait to make an adjustment on their first stop. It's extremely important for Lyondike as well because he is running a race of fuel conservation as well. This team hopes to make it in only 3, Paul.
Well, and when Johnny Parsons Jr. had the engine let go, it laid down a lot of oil through turn 3 and all the way up into turn 4 where he finally got in the wall. So they're having to clean that off, and they want to do the best possible job in doing so. Ari Lyondike will lead the field back, followed by Stewart and Gordon.
Well, one of the things is I think these strategies, 3 and 4, Bobby, you can comment on this. I think that's all going to go out of the window with the yellows because I think if they come in certain times, you're going to have to be scrambling all race long to readjust your strategy.
You know, Danny, I was talking to Tony Stewart and Larry Curry yesterday, and race strategies, and one of the things that they're going to try to do with the Menard engine that we know doesn't do too well on fuel mileage is to roll out of the gas about halfway going into the turns. Now, if we remember up in Loudon, New Hampshire, that's where Tony really beat everybody, was going into the turns. So in order to make it fuel-wise here, he's going to roll out of the throttle maybe halfway. Now, it's not going to be completely backing out, but halfway, and this will really help with his mileage. And they'll see after their first pit stop whether it helped or not. But, of course, this yellow is best all that up, as you said.
Well, that helped. And sorry, Jack, that helps him the best of all because he's conserving so much fuel right now.
The other factor, Danny, that we're talking about, that we're concerned about, is tire conservation. Both teams, both Firestone and Goodyear, are a little bit concerned about tire wear. Why? Because they say they're pulling as much as 4 Gs in the corners, and under full loads, they're not real sure how these tires will perform. Paul?
Well, last night they had, in typical Las Vegas style, an unveiling of the new cars for the Indy Racing League. They were over at the MGM, put them up in the boxing ring. The Dallara on the left, the G-Force on the right. Those are the cars that they will run the next race when they come back next year to Walt Disney World. Gary Gerald took a closer look at them.
And the cars we've become accustomed to seeing in years gone by is found right behind the cockpit. It's this air induction box here where air is jammed into the engine. Keeping in mind now that the new power plants with these cars are naturally aspirated, non-turbocharged. So no longer will you see the familiar pop-off valve sticking up through the bodywork right here. It's a 4-liter engine under here, a little bigger, a little heavier than we've had in the past, but with no turbocharger and no wastegate, that weight is offset. We're going to drop the horsepower by about 200 to the 675 range. A subtle change, not so easily seen, under the car. Simplified underwing, straight lines. It'll reduce downforce 20 to 25%. Fuel capacity from 40 down to 35 gallons in the fuel cell. Here in the cockpit, about 3 inches wider, a little bit higher on the sides for safety. They'll use crushable material around the driver's helmet to immobilize his head in the event of contact. Now, as far as the rules makers are concerned, they've left the suspension pretty much up to the design team. So you'll find subtle differences between the G-Force and the Dallara on each corner of the car in terms of the actual suspension. Also some changes in terms of the gearbox. So they drop the horsepower, they reduce the downforce. They think they're going to slow these cars down by about 15 miles per hour, and IRL officials believe that'll lead to tighter, more competitive racing. Price tag, either one of these chassis, rolling, no engine, $263,000.
Well, Gary, this is a brand new Infiniti that was introduced to the dealers just this week. The engine is the exact same based engine that'll be used for the Indy Racing League in 1997. Take a look at it in racing configuration. It actually is going to use a lot of the same parts that car has. They'll be on an Indy Racing League car and engine next year. Paul?
And the turbocharger will be gone. Pop-off valve will be gone. Las Vegas Boulevard, just outside of the racetrack. That's the traffic still trying to get in here. Not because of any problem with the track getting the traffic in. It's just that big a group of people trying to get in both here and on the freeway, which is just on the backside of the track. An enormous line. It's Nellis Air Force Base just across the street, literally, from the track here. So from time to time we'll see Air Force fighters lifting off from the surface there. So about everything you could want. A great racetrack, the IRL, and of course the fighter jets on the far side. Danny, you and I are probably going to move here, right?
I like the view, especially where we're sitting. I think we're about to go green right now as well.
They pick up the speed as Ari Lyndike will lead Stewart, Gordon, Lazier, John Paul Jr., and Mike Croft back to the line. Focus, of course, is on Tony Stewart, who got around Mike Croft just before the yellow came out for Johnny Parsons Jr. You saw that Johnny Parsons was okay after hitting the wall and blowing his engine. And he's already been checked over by the medical folks, and hopefully we'll be talking to him here shortly. Once again, I'll tell you what, Lyndike really is able to jump out. Here comes Gordon around Stewart. Stewart gets caught in traffic. John Paul Jr. gets caught behind him. Lazier comes around. John Paul Jr. down on the low side.
Stewart's really getting bad starts. He's something wrong with his turbos not coming up to pressure right away.
I don't know. I think Ari maybe played it pretty smart there. Tony took a run at him, and Ari kept going slow, and he had to back out of it, and then it looked like Ari took off.
And he just doesn't have any horsepower. The other cars passed Tony also, and now at Menard, making 100, 150 more horsepower than the others, really should jump him at the start and outrun him. Should have led the race, really.
Yeah, it seems like it's taking him a long time to get up to speed. Look at this. John Paul Jr. going right under Buddy Lazier.
John Paul Jr. takes Lazier, moves into third place. At the same time, a little further back, and you got a glimpse of it for a second, with Scott Sharp and Roberto Guerrero. They came around Richie Hearn, and they moved into 7th and 8th. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
For Tony Stewart on the restart, Larry Curry not happy. He said, we simply didn't know they were going green. They didn't tell us until they were deep into turn 4. So they're a little unhappy, the fact that they had a lack of information. That's why Stewart was lagging on the restart.